Schoolgirl Missing is a pretty interesting book. In fact, it's a very compelling narrative that I found really drawn into. But there is one major issue with the book that I will mention first of all, and then you can decide if that's something you can overcome and want to listen to the rest of this. This book is written by Sue Fortin. It was published originally by 2019 and is published by HarperCollins. I was so surprised to learn it was published by HarperCollins because this clearly hasn't had a professional edit. It's almost like they've published the ebook. I have to say, I read the ebook. I don't know if the paperback is the exact same print, but the ebook version, it's kind of like they accidentally uploaded the author's original manuscript before giving it a professional edit because the grammar is shocking. For a professionally published book, the grammar is horrendous. Mostly it's issues with sentence structures, placements of commas, and I'd say pretty much every paragraph had at least one really badly written sentence, one grammatical error in it, and that made it very frustrating. One of the reasons I don't read a lot of contemporary fiction is because I do feel like the quality of publishing these days is not as high as it used to be. But from HarperCollins, that's not something I've come across before, so I was very surprised and a little bit disheartened, to be perfectly honest. And it's quite confusing as well because every now and then there would be quite a complex sentence with, quite a complex structure, and it was grammatically perfect. But the very basic sentence structures are really poorly done. It's baffling. But I wanted to mention this first because if you're like me and you can't really look past grammatical issues in contemporary fiction, I wanted to get that out of the way first so I don't, spend time otherwise praising it, only for you to then find out that actually it's very difficult to read from a grammatical perspective. But what I think works in the book's favour is that despite the amateur grammar, I was able to carry on reading it. And that is testament to the quality narrative. Absolutely the case. Credit where it's due. The narrative is so fascinating, and I was so desperate to find out what was going on that for the most part, I was able to look past, I was going to say the really bad edit, but what I believe is just a lack of professional edit, and actually enjoy the story. And it's about a missing schoolgirl, but she doesn't go missing for, I think, the first quarter of the book, so it is very slow. And she goes missing when she and her father and her adopted mother are out on the boat, and her parents wake up and she is gone. And not only is she a vulnerable 14-year-old, I say she's a 14-year-old, I think twice in the book she was described as being 14, but on another occasion one of the characters said, but she's not yet 14. Another reason why I think they might have uploaded the wrong manuscript. But not only is she 14 years old, but she's also high functioning autistic. But I believe she was mentioned in the book as having a maturity of about a 10-year-old. So she's definitely a vulnerable child, and there's obviously this race to find out where she is, what's happened, has she been hurt, and there are some really interesting characters, some interesting suspects, and for me what made this the most interesting is that I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know who I thought had done it, whatever it may be, and I was really keen to find out. And that curiosity and a pretty well structured narrative, the sentences may be terrible, but the actual structure of the narrative itself, I think, is pretty good. I think the pacing, once we actually get to the point, is really well done, and it flows really well after that point. And I just didn't know who to trust, I didn't know who to believe, and I liked that. I liked the uncertainty, I liked the unpredictability. I hate it when thrillers and gripping narratives give the game away too soon, and I personally don't think that's the case here. And I rather enjoyed it. As I said, I generally can't read contemporary fiction that hasn't been professionally edited, but with this one, the narrative was so strong, that I was able to overlook that. So that is absolutely 100% something that I want to shout from the rooftops about this book. The narrative is brilliant. It's not very well written in terms of the sentence structure, the grammar, the narrative structure itself isn't too bad after the first quarter of the book. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would, but only if you're able to look past the grammar. Ordinarily, I can't. If you're one of those people who can't, I'd say still give it a go because you might also find the narrative to be that fascinating that it can help you to overlook those issues. Or indeed, maybe try the paperback version. As I said, I don't know if the version I read is the same as the one that actually went to print. Maybe it's different. I don't know. But either way, I'd say give it a go if it sounds like your kind of story. Hopefully, you can look past the grammatical issues and enjoy the narrative for the compelling, unpredictable story that it is. In general, I liked it. As I said, the fact that I could read it is definitely a sign that it's a very compelling narrative and one that ultimately I'm happy to recommend.